So, how do you find your art style? Well, in order to begin this search, you actually have to rephrase the sentence a little bit. Because the real question you need to ask is, how do you identify your style? Because your style is already literally right in front of you. It's you, your beliefs, your perspective, your philosophy, and your values. In reality, your style is actually automatic. It's your default. The way you stand, the way you walk, the way you move, the way you talk, the way you dress, and the way you write. All of it is a reflection of who you are. It's a reflection of what you value and what your experience is. And I know this sounds like psychic mumbo-jumbo bullshit, but in all my life as an artist, I've seen this play out every single time with everyone I've ever met. Now, I'm assuming you're a gamer, so I'm going to try and use a different analogy to maybe make it a little easier to understand. Think of your art style as having a similar relationship to your play style. When you're locked in a serious fight online or in a tournament, you learn a lot about the personality of your opponent when you're trying to figure out how to defeat them. As the battle progresses, you start to notice things like, are they the kind of person that likes to take risks? Or are they the kind of person that likes to play it safe? Are they patient and willing to time you out? Or are they reckless and waste no time closing distance to get in your face immediately? When they're in trouble, do they double down and go on the offensive? Or do they retreat at the first sign of a bad situation? Your enemy's play style, in reality, is actually their philosophy. It's how they prefer to navigate and engage with the world. This is why it's so fun to watch pro players with vastly different playstyles at top levels, or why people love watching crew battles between different countries. What happens when Japan's philosophy of patience, strategy, and defense goes up against Mexico's instinct, spacing, and adaptability? Or America's explosive, unpredictable, aggressive philosophy? Well, we get to see exactly what happens when these philosophies collide in real time when these players face off against each other. Everyone's playstyle is distinct and unique according to their personality. It's very common for a player's style to be so distinct that pros are able to identify other pros by just watching how the character moves. In a similar sense, your art style behaves much the same way. You probably didn't even realize that whether your clothes are comfortable or trendy says a lot about your personality. When you see an image, what you choose to say about it reveals a lot about how you perceive the world. Some people might see this art and say, oh, it looks cool. Others might see it and say, it looks lonely. Just about everything you say and do is a reflection of how you feel, whether you know it or not. And this pattern that keeps coming from you is what we call your style. This is how people can identify your work without being told it's you. Now, something that really helps when identifying your style is to take a moment and introspect to ask yourself about your natural preferences. We talked a little bit about this in our prior art style video a while back, but I want to expound on this a little bit more. Try to figure out what you naturally gravitate towards. If you were in a museum, which exhibit do you think you would go for first? Would it be the beautiful paintings of still life and landscapes? Or do you think you'd be more interested in the portraits of characters and people? Would you rather spend your time looking at the soft, bright, vibrant colors that we find in Monet and Van Gogh? Or would you prefer the harsh, dark, and unapologetic reality of Banksy? When you look at something, what do you notice about it first? Is it the shape? Is it the color? Is the color even important? Or do you prefer and get sucked into black and white images? When you're looking at the shape, how important are the details? Do you prefer stylized or do you prefer realism? When you are looking at something, do you care or notice its relation to the environment it's in? Or do you see it as something on its own, with its own distinct personality and presence? Ironically, you'll find the more of these questions you answer, the more you're going to learn about yourself. Now, there is actually a secret shortcut that you can use to fast track finding your style. And that is to take the top 10 or 20 works that you enjoy the most, put them in a folder, and just ask people to give you their opinion on your collection. And other people will immediately be able to see things that you yourself never even noticed. For example, it's kind of a running joke in my Discord community that my preferred art style is high contrast, abstract shapes of classy women wearing big hats. I didn't even realize that was my thing until random members of the community kept pointing out the repeating patterns, and Eventually, I realized, yeah, tactically robed witches with big hats and dramatic colors is kind of my thing. And if you join me in the next video, I'll probably do a little bit more of a deep dive into my own personal art style and try and figure out and explain why I think it is the way it is. Because I think maybe going through that thought process together might be helpful for others. But I still think it's true that your style will be very easily apparent if you start comparing your favorite collection against other people's collection. Take a guess in which one of these do you think is me? It's easy, right? Even if you've never seen this image before, you can tell that this one is in line with my personal style. So this is a great exercise to quickly determine what parts of art you gravitate towards naturally. And if this is something that you're interested in learning about, leave a comment down below. How would you answer the following questions if you had to pick one or the other? Fantasy or slice of life? Environment or characters? Faces are important or faces don't matter? Posed or natural? Stylized or realistic? Simple or detailed? Shape or color? Soft colors or harsh colors? Leave your answers down below and any explanation you think you have for why. I promise if you leave your comment within the next 24 hours, I will read it because this is really fun for me too. And this is a very important part of your journey. So if you've never asked yourself about these things before, I think you'd be surprised how much you can learn about yourself through this exercise. Regardless, as always, hope you have a fantastic day and I'll see you around.